Hello everybody, I am Hoardergamer, and this is Hoarder's Comic Flex. I hope you all had a good day or night whenever you're watching this. Whatever time is usually what I say, or something even more bizarre sounding, but whenever you watch this, I hope you are having a good time. I'm going to have a few reviews. We're going to talk about toys, we're going to talk about comic books. Also, while we're covering the Knights of Terror event for DC, the True Terror is me going on again at length about Diablo 4. So just so everyone's aware of that. Hello, Hero. How you doing? Our first review. Get ready. Adjust your eyes, everybody. This is the actual cover. Neon ink. It is as gorgeous as it looks right here, if not even better. This is Night Terror's First Blood #1. This is the Darkest Hour variant cover. Okay. So, I did something funny. I read Night Terror's Batman first, only to find out I was supposed to read Night Terror's First Blood before. And Batman makes a lot more sense now after reading Night Terror's First Blood, which is going to be a first book that we review. It is creepy and disturbing. It features one of the main characters from Sandman, John Dee. Because that's not just a Sandman character, everybody. That is a DC Universe character. The gentleman who happened to have Dream's Ruby. John Dee. Well, now, it seems that while he has the Dreamstone, he's trying to find something called the Nightmare Stone. And Insomnia, this otherworldly, monstrous thing that lives like in nightmares, can infect your dreams and stuff, is trying to find out where the Nightmare Stone is, and apparently the location of that is hidden in the mind of either a hero or villain in the DC universe. Hence the, I kid you not, 60-some issue series from July through August, Night Terrors. Okay? The first issue of Night Terrors I thought was really good. It basically introduces the Justice League. It even shows like the supervillains, and Boston Brand, who you might know as Deadman, is basically jumping in and out of Batman, which does not make him happy. Trying to find out who might know where this stone is and how to stop Insomnia. It's really good. Batman was sold out. You got the one in your hand. Did you get that same cover? Because that cover is absolutely gorgeous. I saw that cover and I was like, that is the cover I need. How you doing, Mike? I think I know why the Batman one sold out. There's a truly insane amount of gory and graphic imagery that's insane. And Gilliam March is an astounding artist. So, well, we'll get into that. That's a separate review. But so far, I like the concept of this event. I find Insomnia to be a frightening character and also an enigmatic character. For all we know, it could be just like a human being with some insane, crazy power, you know? But we don't know that. It could also be some demon or something, you know? Hard to say. Especially when you involve John Dee. Because John Dee covers everything from Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths to Sandman and everywhere else. He was also in the Arrowverse. He had a book. I believe it was the Monitor Anti-Monitor story arc John Dee shows up in. I know. I that's how I felt too, Mike. I saw that cover and I already knew I was going to pick it up because I love horror and I love the artists and writers associated with a lot of the books here. And I'll be talking about a few of those too tonight later on because, like I said, this goes for 2 months. However, a PSA for everybody. Do not feel you have to purchase all 60 some issues, because that would be insanely expensive. I'm sure DC would be happy if you did that. But you don't have to buy all 64 issues. You don't. You don't. Get the issues for the characters you're currently reading or the characters you love. And then if you dig that, if you're like, this is cool, then invest in the main books. Now, this is kind of interesting. With this one, you kind of have to get this one first. You kind of need to have First Blood. Next week is Night Terrors #1. So this is like a prelude to Night Terrors as the actual main series, but that's probably what you really need to actually understand what's going on. And then just get like the, heroes you're into and villains you're into. Because it's not just heroes that have books that are in this. And I'll be talking about that a little bit later. But yeah, I like this a lot. The art in this issue is by Howard Porter. And it's very evocative. It's creepy at times. But man, once we get to that Guillaume March with the Batman, that's intense. That's some intense stuff. But yeah, I highly recommend it. This seems like it's going to be a good series. Now, I'm not vouching that all 60-some issues are going to be great and worth getting. Please do not hear that from my words. The specific issues I review, though, I will comment and say if they're good. And this is a good beginning to a series, or to an event series. Especially if you like horror. There's a lot of dream constructs and things like that. Fake corpses everywhere. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty nuts. Okay, everybody. That is our first comic book review. Now, we usually have some game news, and this week will be no different. It apparently has been told to us that around, if not the 20th for sure, but at some point at San Diego Comic-Con, we're going to get more from Spider-Man 2, Marvel's Spider-Man 2. So that's very exciting. Just wondering, what villains would everyone like to see in Spider-Man 2? I find it funny a lot of people aren't talking about some really cool villains because it seems like they don't remember that in 2018, there were a ton of villains in the Spider-Man game. It wasn't a handful, it was like damn near 3 handfuls of villains. There were a lot of villains. Like if you're looking at main missions and side missions and everything, there were quite a few villains in that game. Now, conversely, Miles Morales, that game was a shorter game, didn't have quite as many villains. But in 2018, they went nuts. I would definitely like to see Mysterio. We haven't gotten Mysterio yet. And I was watching Sadat the Gamer, and he had a really good comment today. He said that it would be really cool to have that kind of like lizard hypnosis or like poison, whatever thing happened with Peter in the 2018 game, but do something similar like that, but with Mysterio. I thought that was a really cool idea. And yeah, I definitely think if you have Mysterio, you need to play with the character, Peter, as well as the game player's psyche. You got to kind of screw around there. You got to have fun because you got to do things Mysterio would do that none of the other villains would. Now, based, I believe this is on another country's ratings of the game, because those ratings come out early. They have to submit the game and the information, and then they like talk about all these scenes. Apparently, there's something about a serial killer in this game. And while that could involve Wraith, that could involve a number of interesting Spider-Man characters, It could also involve Cletus Cassidy, Carnage. Now, what I would do, I'm not in charge here or anything like that, of course, is I would set up like the idea that it was someone else and then reveal it to be Carnage, and all the clues come together and make sense that, I'm sorry, that it's Cletus, not Carnage, that it's Cletus. And then in the third game, because let's be honest, this will probably get a third game. I see this as a trilogy, to be honest with you. In the third game, then it's Carnage. And then you could actually have, like, Peter and Venom maybe even team up against Carnage because of how dangerous and scary and crazy Carnage is. Like, that is a true threat. Like, Venom's a threat. Carnage takes it to the next level. Because it's like Venom becoming a serial killer. That's what it's like. So, pretty intense. And, yeah. That's what I'm looking at with the game. I'm thinking some of those villains will show up. But I'm very excited. I look forward to this trailer. Part of me thinks whatever this trailer is or whatever will also be a new like villain reveal, actually. Because with all the villains that they had in 2018, they got to have so many here that they can surely show us another one. Without like spoiling probably 10 more villains they have in the game we won't know about that are in side missions and things like that. Hey Doom, how you doing? Just talking a bit about Spider-Man 2 and the announcement that there's going to be something at San Diego Comic-Con, possibly a trailer or whatever that's going to be. Doom, what villain would you like to see? What villain would you enjoy that we haven't gotten yet in the Spider-Man games? I said Cletus, because there's talk that there's a serial killer involved, and I think it would be cool to lead us down one path to someone else we kind of know is going to be in the game, and have it be Cletus. And then the third game have Carnage. Maybe in like the end credit scene or something, Cletus becomes Carnage. Don't have it where in the second game we have somewhat corrupted Peter, Venom, and Carnage all in one game. Don't do that. Don't do that, Marvel. And Insomniac. But maybe set up Carnage for a third game. Sandman would be awesome. Yeah, Flint Marko would be great. Yeah, I said Mysterio. Because you could have some real fun with perception and everything of the person playing the game. Just like with that lizard scene. Yeah, I mentioned earlier that Sadat mentioned the lizard scene in the 2018 game. And when I mentioned Mysterio, he said how that would be really cool to have similar gameplay. And I completely agree. I think that'd be really neat. But now that we've covered Spider-Man, everybody, there isn't a lot more game news except Diablo 4. First off, we'll begin with the information that at 1 p.m. Central Time tomorrow, the devs of Diablo 4 and Diablo Immortal... Okay, wait, don't stop watching. Don't stop watching. I know I said Diablo Immortal. That's only going to be 10 or 15 minutes. The rest of this, like, over-hour stream is going to be, like, 45 minutes on Diablo 4 Season 1. And, like, I believe also updates coming to the game, too. Like, patches. Some info on that. So, yeah. I'm looking forward to this. The seasons for Diablo 3 were a lot of fun and really cool, but they just didn't have the manpower... manpower, women power, the power to actually make a lot of content. They didn't have enough headroom, they just didn't. And now they have a much larger head count. They have separate teams. One team is working on huge, massive expansions, and the other is working on like patches and the seasons, Person power, I like that. I also like the alliteration there. Very much fits comic books. So, now we're going to talk just a little bit about Diablo, and I'm going to bore everybody with the changes I would make. I want to see what other people have to say that have played the game. Definitely put that into chat or in comments. I think some of my ideas are good, and one of them is completely absurd, and it's very very greedy of me. It's very greedy of me. Okay, so these are changes I would make. Right now, it seems the world boss shows up in a 4-hour time period, somewhere within 4 hours, and it seems to be currently like 4 times a day. Now, I play quite a bit of Diablo 4, and I can maybe get across one world boss, maybe 2 of the 3 in a week. Because of how rarely the world boss shows up. And then, like, you're looking for a Shava and you get Avarice. You're looking for Avarice and you get Wandering Death. So I just kind of wish there was a way to know which one was coming. Maybe they could have like a cool clue going on. You know, some element of sound or visual to let you know, ooh, what's coming with the next one. And just have it show up more often. You know, world bosses are a lot of fun in this game. And I'll be talking about world bosses just a little bit in a moment too. Okay, now, let us choose the loot quality if it drops. No, I'm not crazy. I'm not like, nothing should drop except constant legendaries, sacreds, and uniques. No. What I'm saying is a filter. Some ARPGs have something called a loot filter. Once you get to like level 50, chances are you're just going to, well, if you're on tier 2, chances are you're just going to want like rares and legendaries. Very rarely is a magic or a common item going to drop that you can work with at 50 or above. And once you get to tier 3, you're probably looking at rares, sacred legendaries, and regular, probably still regular legendaries because there's still good powers associated with those. But like, there's 2 or 3 classes of item that, you know, the only reason you'd want it is to have crafting materials. And by that time, you probably have a ton. Also, gems, potions, and sigils. They should not take up inventory or stash space. Okay, so I believe it's 40. I believe you have able to carry 40 items in your inventory that are like weapons and armor, things like that, as well as gems. Those are all going to be on like one page. And in Diablo 3, you're able to carry 60 items on top of like a bag that collects your jewels and all this other stuff. Nava, how you doing? So I just think that the gems, potions, and sigils, they should not take up inventory or stash space. Like the potions and sigils like have their own page in your inventory. I just don't quite understand why. Here we go. This one I think will be popular. I don't know if it's possible. I'm about to suggest a change for Diablo 4, but I just don't even know if it's possible. Offline gameplay options. That's why I'm wording it this way. I'm thinking the way the game's designed, the way it's meant to be always online, not everything could be available offline. Okay, I get that. But even if it's just a few select nightmare dungeons, something is better than not being able to play at all. Even if it's a small, if it's one of the regions, if it's something where you can go around fighting enemies, getting loot, when there's an issue with the servers, something, whatever it is, that would be really cool. So I would love it if they could do something like that. Because I believe the Xbox version went down for a while, and then the PlayStation version went down a couple times, I believe. So, yeah, I mean, having an always online game has those difficulties. And it'd be cool if there would be something we could do, something we could play in Diablo 4, not having to go to a different Diablo game, but something in Diablo 4 where we could still continue playing. Okay, so sometimes you'll do a world event on tier 3 or tier 4, and like at least for me on tier 3, single player world events are still a bit difficult for me, especially when certain affixes are on enemies and stuff. So it would be really cool if we had a way to request assistance during world events or hell tides, even looking for games or looking for players, even for the dungeons. Something like that would be really nice. Like maybe it could be like a version of like hello or a version of help, something like that, that could actually be heard by a group that'd be somewhat near the world event, somewhere near the hell tide. Something like that I think would be cool. Okay, now here's something that I think they can change, but I don't know if they will or how easily they can. Enemies should not be able to incapacitate or stun lock as long as they do. I'm not saying they shouldn't be able to freeze you. I'm not saying that they shouldn't be able to do certain attacks like that that can stop you or mitigate your damage. It's just that that'll happen, and then it'll like how you'll have someone like hitting you repeatedly, and there's nothing you can do. You like basically get stun locked, and that's really frustrating, especially in something like the Hell Tide. That's really rough to deal with. Okay, now this one again, I don't know if this is possible. It's just a suggestion, so don't kill the messenger. A way for players on different tiers to play together. I finally made it to tier 3 myself. Of course, just about all my friends are on tier 4 now. If there was some way that I could play with them on the tier they're on, but like, you know, do the damage somewhat to the level they're doing, similar to the way actual regular levels work when you're on the same tier, that would be really cool. Because outside of like friendship and kindness, what reason does somebody on tier 4 have to play with someone on tier 3 or 2 when they're not going to get any loot that's worth it? As far as I know, that even if they're on tier 3 or 4, if they're playing on tier 2 or 3, they're going to get that lesser level loot, right? As far as I know, that's how it works. And then, this one is big. We know that there's not just one, but there's 2 massive expansions coming to Diablo 4. One apparently is well underway, and then the second one they started work on, I think, a month or 2 ago. Very recently. But I hope that those expansions are meaningful. Like, not just story, but like more side missions, more world bosses, more world events. Like even like new world events. I'm hoping when those hit, there's a lot to them. Because like expansions that have come to Diablo Immortal seem to have all of that. They seem to have something like a raid, something like world bosses, and story content, all of it together. As well as like story threads like side missions, side quests and stuff. So I am really hoping that we get those things. And then there's one other thing I want to mention. This is my indulgence, everybody. This is an idea just about everybody but me seems to hate. But now that I have this time here and I've got you as an audience, I'm going to mention it. Okay, so the idea of a 6th class, right? We know we have the druid, the sorcerer, the necromancer, the rogue, and the barbarian. I did it, all 5. We have those 5. But I had the idea of a class that's brand new. One that we haven't seen yet. One I haven't even heard of anyone mention yet. The Reformed Loot Goblin. Or Treasure Goblin, if you prefer. So, a badass reformed treasure goblin, I almost said loot again, treasure goblin that acts as a pet class by using portals to summon different goblin types, as well as use portals for combat to cut foes into pieces. One ability could be pulling a weapon from a loot bag with a random chance of it being very powerful, loot bag could also be a trap, a teleport, or a way to suffocate enemies. So, yeah, that was my idea of Treasure Goblin as the 6th class in Diablo 4. And while I got quite a few comments, no one seemed to like it in the subreddit, but I persevere. I think it's an interesting concept, and I just think it sounds insane to actually be playing as a treasure goblin that's killing demons because you're reformed. I find it to be a wild concept. And now that we're done with that, everybody, we're done talking about video games, it is time for us to toy around. This week, again, we're going to toy around, and first up we have Timothy Drake. I think this is a very good likeness of Tim Drake. This is coming out from McFarlane Toys. Pre-orders actually start tomorrow. So supposedly this one is going to be available everywhere. Like Target, Amazon.com, Big Bad Toy Store, Entertainment Earth. And by the way, if you order from Entertainment Earth and you use code Hoarder, it benefits me, and I'd appreciate it. Thank you. But yeah, here's Tim Drake right here. Wow! Wow! It does not look 3D printed. You look 3D printed, Mike. You look 3D printed. I think it looks good. I think it's a good Tim Drake. And here's Tim Drake, right? We have another pre-order going live from McFarlane also. This actually turned out to be a big McFarlane week for toys. So not a lot from Hasbro, which is rare. Here we go, everybody. Here's Superman. And you can't hush me about this. This pre-order also goes live tomorrow. So Superman and Tim Drake. I don't know if there's going to be more, if it's just 2 action figure pre-orders. I honestly don't know. It's usually a series with them, like 4 to 6 figures in a series that they have pre-orders that go live for. Of the 2, I like the Superman more, but I'm also a bigger Superman fan than Tim Drake. But I do think that's a really good Tim Drake action figure. And the consensus from fans is that they really like it too. They also seem to really like Hush Superman. But yeah, I think those are great. I like both of them. I will probably end up going with that Superman though. Superman's going to go up, and away. And Tim Drake is going to go back to Gotham. Ooh, hold on. There we go. We are not done with the love of McFarlane Toys. So, they had silhouettes of the Diablo toys that are coming, I believe, this fall or so, the first series. And they're silhouettes, and I believe it's the Sorcerer, the Druid, the Necromancer, and here's an odd one, the Blood Bishop. Not a bad enemy, not a bad design, but it's just sort of like a side mission boss. And I fully thought that when the 2 of the first figures we'd get would be Lilith and Inarius. Like, I really thought those would be 2 of the first we get. Specifically because they're focusing so much on Diablo 4 here. This isn't like them doing Diablo toys and starting with, like, Diablo 2 or Diablo 3 designs. These silhouettes, you can tell, are Diablo 4 designs. So, we have this World of Warcraft figure silhouette right here. And then we also have, let me find it here. Oh my gosh, did I forget to bring it out? I did. 1 second. I did. Well, there was a dragon, everybody. And I am sorry that I forgot to bring it out. But yeah, World of Warcraft Dragon. There's a total of, I want to say it's 4 or 5 figures. 2 dragons and like 3 or 4 actual like figures. The dragons look like statues. They're on stands. I don't know if there's any posability like with wings or any of that. Let me just see. I asked somebody to see if they could tell me if they knew who that silhouette was, because I don't know anyone in World of Warcraft. Oh, they did not get back to me yet though. So let's just say Azeroth. I heard that name somewhere. It's probably Azeroth. Okay, I'm going to send this back to the World of Warcraft. Again, showing my limited knowledge of the subject matter. Okay, remove. Wow! That segment could have gone better. Anyway, it is time for us to look at the future of comic books. The future all the way to 1 week from today. Okay, everybody. First up, we have a book that sounds very interesting from Boom. Sirens of the City. 1980s New York. A young pregnant woman with an unwanted pregnancy and supernatural creatures are trying to get at her and her unborn child. And it's basically a story of like female power against the patriarchy. And I think it's going to be really interesting. Boom Studios is awesome. They do Grimm. They also do Something is Killing the Children. I'm sorry, I should do that more dramatically. They also do Something is Killing the Children. That's how I picture someone saying that title. Okay, but yeah, Sirens of the City sounded pretty neat to me. Reminded me a little bit of Baby Teeth, which was a really cool book by Donny Cates. So yeah, Sirens of the City, right here. This is the foil cover. That's why it's got some really cool pronounced color to it. Like the red eyes and the red of New York. I think it looks nice. Next up, I mentioned this earlier. Night Terrors #1. And I believe it's Insomnia possibly eating Batman or Batman's nightmares. I'm not exactly sure. It looks awesome though. Again, it's a similar cover style to the neon ink that this issue... Oh, sorry. The neon ink that this issue used right here. But yeah, this is the first actual book of the series. Again, First Blood was kind of like a prelude to this. Night Terrors #1. Again, do not feel you have to get like all 64 or 65 issues. Don't feel that that's necessary. Get the characters you like. And again, if you dislike horror, not a horror fan, maybe steer clear of the event, you know? Some of the books really stand out in the event, though, because, like, Jeremy Adams, who's doing a bang-up job with Green Arrow... I'm sorry. Jeremy Adams, who's doing a bang-up job with Green Lantern, not Green Arrow. He's actually doing the 2 issues for the horror series. He's doing the Night Terrors issues. And G. Willow Wilson, the writer of Poison Ivy, is doing those 2 issues. Mark Waid is doing the 2 issues for Shazam. So those are the actual writers basically incorporating what they're doing, what they're probably their story arcs currently, and then going crazy with the whole John D. Insomnia thing. I'm looking forward to it. Those specific books, there's a few others that are the actual creators and everything. Do I have a black light to show you? I do not. I do not. Next up, we have an event book. Okay? The 25th issue of Moon Knight. I think it's a double-sized. Like, I think it's a 40-page or longer. And also, this goes into the Moon Knight miniseries involving Layla. Like, I believe that comes out 1 week after this, I think. Possibly 2. But this begins all of that. And Moon Knight is a great book. Jed McKay is doing a fantastic job with it. 1 second, let me check something. Okay, yeah, he's still on it. I wanted to make sure, because there are times where I'm reading books, and then all of a sudden, well, that writer's gone. Artists seem to go back and forth, or they'll fill in artists because of how long it takes to do a comic book. But like the writers usually seem to do an entire arc or, multiple arcs. So yeah, Moon Knight right here, number 25. I do not know if this is a great jumping on point. I don't know. It might be. They try to do that with event books, but who knows? But yeah, very good title. Moon Knight's a really good book. And our final book of next week, a somber book. Marvel Fallen Friend, The Death of Miss Marvel. By now everyone probably knows Miss Marvel died a hero, saving the life of Mary Jane Watson by impersonating her and fooling a very dangerous enemy of Spider-Man's. And what's exciting about this book is it's G. Willow Wilson, Saladin Ahmed, and Mark Waid. So I don't know if Mark Waid actually wrote any of the volumes of the book, but Saladin Ahmed and G. Willow Wilson did, and they're actually, I believe, co-creators of it. So this should be a very interesting send-off for a great character. So, Fallen Friend, The Death of Miss Marvel. Okay, everybody. So we are done now talking about next week's comics. And I'll just say, if you have, any comments or ideas... Did I say comics or comments? I hope I said comics. If you have any, though, comments or ideas of, toys you want me to talk about, books, movies, games, let me know. Put those into comments or put them into chat, whichever. And finally, we have our last review of the evening. Each episode is usually about 2 reviews. Batman Night Terrors. Again, this has a very cool, evocative cover. It's got this startling red ink on a mostly black background. His eyes are white, but that's, that makes sense with the character. So, it's all about the idea of what scares Bruce, what scares Batman. And Gilliam March does an excellent job with really creepy, screwed up art. And while these are themes that have been trod before involving Batman and his, his fears and the terrible tragedy of what happened to his parents, this feels different, and it comes off creepier, and I'd say in a disturbing manner you're not used to for this type of thing. And it starts out with Batman trying a deprivation chamber. And he tells Alfred, okay, I'm going to try this out. And apparently this is a long time ago. This isn't anything I don't think recent. And he's like, I'm going to try it out. And in 24 hours, I want you to come back and get me. So he goes into this big tank and everything. And all he experiences is the death of his parents, like over and over. And then he gets out of it, like it seems like a couple minutes later. And he says, Alfred, why didn't you get me? Or why'd you get me out so soon? I told you to keep me in here 24 hours. And he goes, Master Bruce, I did. And at that point, Batman realizes that that is one thing he cannot get over. Not yet. He hopes to one day, but currently he can't. And enter Insomnia, who wants the Nightmare Stone and basically uses the nightmares that Bruce has against him. Now, he's not creating these nightmares. He's using what's already there. And he even says, I'm not Dr. Crane. He says, Batman, I'm not Dr. Crane. That's not how I work. You're the one in charge here. So that was a really interesting piece of information, I would say. And like I mentioned, Boston Brand is basically inhabiting Batman. But in the dream world, Batman is young, like 7 or 8-year-old Bruce Wayne, constantly going through the events of his parents' death, including running from giant pearls. Running from giant pearls like his mother's pearls. And then an insane visual that some people have already seen online of Bruce Wayne vomiting out a gigantic 6-foot bat with a gun built into its head. I would say the reason this book sold out at some shops is because everyone wanted some of the insanely gory and macabre visuals that are in this book, and the art is great. So some of the reviews have been a bit rough, but I honestly think it was good. And I thought it was intense, and I'm looking forward to knowing more about Insomnia. Also, interesting point, Insomnia twice makes the comment about being the next sidekick or being Batman's next Robin. He says this once in the First Blood, and he says it again in the actual Batman issue. And give me 1 second, I need to check one thing. Okay. And in most Batman issues now, there's 2 stories, a main one and a secondary. Secondary is Damian Wayne going to get information about this Nightmare Stone and trying to find out more about Insomnia from like a supernatural priest, I guess. It's not like a religion that exists outside of comics. Supernatural priest, he basically goes and looks at his books and gets this information, and he's trying to communicate like with the Justice League about how dangerous this threat is, because he seems to have like a moment, a realization, an epiphany as to what they're dealing with, and it's basically too late. And he's got to figure out how he can stop Insomnia, apparently. So I think it was really good. I think it's, I think Joshua Williamson, who wrote The Flash for a long time, is doing a really good job with it. And what is Batman's preferred beverage? I'm guessing coffee. I'm guessing he's a bit of a caffeine junkie because of, you know, he can barely sleep. The city he lives in is hell. Routinely, when Alfred was around, Alfred would tell Bruce, you need to get more sleep, Master Bruce. And then in the story, you'd find out he was going on like 2 hours. At maybe at the most 3 hours, maybe at the most, really. So yeah, I would say he was propped up on caffeine. Just ice. That might be Mr. Freeze's favorite beverage. Or Captain Cold. Oh God. Oh God. Oh God. Oh wow. Wow. And with that, everybody, I would like to thank you all very much for watching. I'll be back next week, same bat time, same bat channel, with another episode. If for any crazy reason you want to watch me, I'm on twitch.tv/Hoardergamer. I'm currently doing a lot of Final Fantasy 16 and Diablo 4. Those are like the two main games that I'm enjoying right now. I would like to thank Doomkiller HD as well as Doom Squad Gaming for letting me borrow your channel again. Thank you. And I hope you all have a great time. A great day or night whenever you're watching this. I hope you have a great one. Am I on Threads? Don't even put those fears into me right now. Everybody have a great time. See you later. Bye-bye.